handle the pressure. I could handle the pressure.
Press, can you hear me in your headset?
No.
Okay, I can't hear you either.
Well, I could slightly hear you.
I can hear both of you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Not in my headset, though. I can just hear your voice. Wait, can you hear us in your headset?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, this is
Are these
on
rookies? Shoot, the last interview I did was in high school. Little microphone back and forth deal. Back in the days, baby. 1998.
Who's going first? You, me? Who's doing high school?
High school, college.
You'll start.
Stuff. I'll start.
Yeah.
You want me just leading the like just doing the intro and all that?
Yeah.
All right. Is it recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to the At the 50 podcast. This is Patrick here, and today this is our first interview episode. We have Marcus Davis, Franklin Community High School's athletic trainer, great guy, one of the best. We're gonna ask him some questions about his high school and college athletics and career, and then we're gonna have some questions from Nico and Price about his work in the combine and working with the Bengals for a couple of years. So, Marcus, how are you, man?
Very good, very good. Happy to be here.
We're excited too. So, we've heard some conflicting rumors about where you went to high school. We know Price's dad. He went to the same high school as you. I think Price has more information on that. I don't.
Yeah, he went to Shaw High School, not Franklin Community, actually, despite popular belief.
And we heard you played baseball and football. You were a corner for football, and no.
No, I did not play football. I played elementary football, but my high school was too small. We didn't even have a football team. I do, and I know I love football, and obviously help a little bit, hang around the DBs and stuff in practice, but did not play high school football. In high school, I played soccer,
really,
basketball, and baseball.
Zach lied to me then. So, with baseball, we know you hold a record over there, stolen bases, if I'm correct.
I do. I have the state stolen base record.
Really?
Yeah. In a season, I had 68 steals my senior year. So.
How many games do you play in a season?
I think that year we played a little over 30, 31, 32, because we won the sectional that year. It was the first year of class sports my senior year, so It gave us an opportunity to finally win a sectional after going against the bigger public schools in Madison and those big schools. So it gave us, with a little school of 100 high school kids, that's all that was in there. Yeah, very tiny. So it gave us an opportunity, but it was a great experience.
With such a small school, did you see a lot of? So you played soccer and basketball as well. Did you see a lot of the same guys on the same teams?
Oh, for sure. There were only probably 40-something male athletes in the school, so you saw a lot of people doing a lot of things. I tell kids a lot. I played soccer. I was terrible at soccer, but you had to do something, right? And you just try to find a way to field a team and help. And my soccer skills were not very good, but still enjoyed playing. And I think it gave me a little bit of perspective on the different sports, the ones that you're not good at, maybe okay at, and then better at. So it gave you a good perspective on all the sports.
Now, about baseball, were you there before or after they actually put up a fence?
We had a fence. Yeah.
Okay.
We did a lot of the remodeling, but they definitely had a fence, and we had got the new scoreboard and lights and all those things.
Yeah, because I hear stories all the time from my dad about how he played without a fence, and so you'd hit a home run, but you still had to run because it was in fair play.
Yeah, very true. We had a couple of those teams on our schedule that didn't have a fence, or it was a very, very, very far fence. It was basically out in the cornfield somewhere. So, yeah, lots of different experiences in the little schools.
So, let me pull up my list real quick. How was your conference back then? Was it, because I don't know if we played you guys ever.
No, they're way too far south.
Way too far south?
Yeah.
How was
too south, too small, probably.
So, how was your guys' conference?
There's a lot of, down in Southern Indiana, there's a lot of small schools. Switchland County, South Ripley, where Mr. Ahaus went. Competed against him in high school. So there are a lot of small little towns along the river valley there. So we had a lot of 1 and 2A schools. There were some sports that because there weren't very many in the travel, we would play some schools twice. You would play your conference teams twice to kind of fill up the schedule.
Okay. Is there any, like, so you talked about A House being someone that you competed against. Is there any other staff here currently that you think or maybe?
That I didn't. Mr. Holcroft is from Madison too. He was a few years older. Same thing. My brother's 4 years older than me, so they were about the same age. So just knowing him, and when I got here and realized he taught up here, I had no idea. He also went to Franklin College where I went. I didn't know he went to Franklin College. So just small world things. It's interesting how people's past still intertwine and cross from such a long time ago still.
I feel like Indiana, it's like so close knit. Like it's just so much more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone just knows everyone.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
like you'll hear someone's from one place and you're like, oh, I know this person from that place as well. It's just you know someone from like a place in Indiana, like everywhere. So yeah.
So you went to Franklin College. Did you play any athletic? Did you play baseball for Franklin?
So I went to Franklin College. I was very late on figuring out where I wanted to go to school. Didn't really think I had an opportunity to play anything in college. I was just okay. But there was a little connection between the assistant basketball coach at Franklin College and Hanover. So someone knew me and they said, "Hey, you should come up here," and had a good visit. I really liked the athletic training program and the campus itself. It was small. Going from a small school, I wasn't really looking forward to going to a bigger school just because I'd kind of been in that already. So I had an opportunity to play there. Once again, I was a JV Division III basketball player. Coach Marshall really wanted me to play baseball too, but it was too much to do both things. So I played 1 year of college basketball and then realized the focus on just athletic training and enjoying college in general. But to this day, some of my best friends from college were all on that basketball team. So
nice.
So it still worked out, built good relationships with those guys, and it kind of carried through.
So when did you become interested in doing becoming an athletic trainer?
Sometime in high school, junior year or so. I had a lot of physical therapists in my family, so I'd been introduced to that a little bit. We had some of those career days where the PTs would come around and you get to play with the stim, and you're like, that's kind of interesting. Went to a clinic and checked it out, thought that was cool. And then my high school basketball coach, my senior year, because he came in my last year, his wife was the head athletic trainer at Hanover College.
Oh, okay.
So I had an opportunity to go out there and kind of do some job shadowing out there, and it was interesting. I'm like, this could be kind of fun. Had no idea what kind of setting in that, but just trying to learn the body and figure it out. I always like science and stuff, so just give it a try.
Is there any particular person that you kind of have a lot of respect for that kind of got you interested in athletic training, or someone that really kind of helped you get interested?
Not probably interested in the beginning, just seeing it. My brother kind of went into a little bit of medical stuff, doing a physical therapy assistant, but nothing really until I got to college. And then when I got to college, Kathy Remsburg basically started the program from scratch on her own. She has been a person ever since once I got to Franklin College, she's been the one to lean on. She had all the big experience and knew all the people, and is very, very good at what she does, and is still there and kind of has helped that program continue to evolve over the last 25 years. So more after I got into it, I found someone that was, I was like, oh gosh, she's really good. I want to kind of keep doing the things and keep being the best I can be here, and keep picking from her.
Nice. So I think Price is gonna enjoy this segment a ton. We know you worked with the Bengals. I think early 2000s is what we heard.
Yeah, I was there for the 2007 season.
Okay, so you're still a Bengals fan, right?
I still follow them. Now,
Okay.
it's been a little bit of time. So there's not as many players there. Well, I don't think there's any players there anymore. Andrew Whitworth was kind of the last, I think, active player. Obviously, he was with the Rams last year, but he was kind of the last active player, I think, from when I was actually there.
Okay.
Yeah. Who was your favorite player from that time whenever you were working with him?
I had a lot of good, well, not good, but interesting conversation with TJ Hushmanzada at the end of the day. Like, he was just that guy that was always coming in the training room at the end of the day and just sitting there waiting for other guys to get out of the meetings or just not ready to go home yet. So we would always call it wise words from TJ, like, because he was always had an opinion about something. He's a very opinionated man and knows a lot of things, and corrected me a number of times when I voiced an opinion that he thought was not very smart or sharp. But I mean, he was one that you got to know and just got to chat up a little bit. So it was a good time.
Any interaction with Chad Johnson?
Plenty of interactions with Chad Johnson. Yeah, it was interesting because I think he wanted a new contract or something. So he was like a late arrival that summer and showed up during minicamp. Didn't really want to participate, but did, which saw a little bit of those ebbs and flows in his personality a little bit. But in the end, then he was just fine. Like, I was there when we were doing some rehab over the summer after the minicamp, and he told us that he changed his name to Chad Ochocinco. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. No, he had really changed his name. So we had some of those experiences, and then, he got banged up a little bit during that season too. So there were some times I had to deal with him or go with him to see the ortho or what have you. So he was a very interesting personality. But he was not always on like that. Like, there are some times he was there you had no idea that he was even in the building. He was just quiet, sitting in the corner, doing his thing. But then there were plenty of times where he made a big entrance into the training room or locker room. So,
what's your favorite memory of him? I know he's a
very interesting
guy.
Yeah, I mean, you never knew what you were going to get. You never knew what kind of Chad you were going to get. Were you going to get the big and loud one, or are you going to get him just kind of just being chill and ho-hum, just doing his thing and his thoughts. So, but yeah, lots of good. It's just like anybody else. You guys all know people that have those kind of up and down crazy personalities, and they're fun to be around. It's the same thing. That whole team was full of this regular guys that they just play football at the highest level. So that's what you kind of start figuring out is after you get the shock of meeting those guys for the first time, then you get to go, okay, well, we're over that now. This is Chad. That's Carson. That's, you get through that real quick once you get that kind of that sticker shock of seeing them and interacting for the first time. And then same thing, coming back, they get to chat you up and then get to know who you are and not just the new guy or the intern for the year. And then you kind of build those relationships over as the season goes along.
So with being an NFL, teams like athletic trainer, like how does that process work? Like, were you that like head trainer? Were you just one of those guys that just like worked individually with people, or like how does that go? So
the Cincinnati situation was set up. Coach Lewis, Marvin Lewis was the head coach at the time. He wanted more minorities on the staff. He didn't feel like there was enough minorities in the staff. So their structure, they had the head athletic trainer who'd been there since the early 80s, like he's been there a very long time. And then they had two assistants. And then, so for them, Cincinnati's known for wanting to save money. Yeah. So instead of hiring that fourth full-time person and paying them all the things, they created a internship position.
That's really
so
cool.
They did a season long, and I'm not sure if they're still doing it or if they've actually finally added that fourth full-time person. So it was a way to get people like me in the early part of our career some NFL experience, but also then helping them a little bit on the cheaper side when it comes to that. So
with it being an internship, was this like something you did out of college or in of college, or is this just like how did it work?
So I'd been working here. So I started working here in 2002.
Okay.
I did a little bit of stuff on and off. Same thing, just to kind of put myself out there with the Colts and did some mini camps and some things during those years. And then this opportunity happened to show up. I applied for it. The first time I applied kind of late. I'd missed the thing. So I know what they do with those now. They just throw those resumes away. So when it opened up again, I applied again, went in for an interview. I'd only been married like not even a year yet. So I had a really good interview, at least I thought, and that's what they told me. So I had a good interview, and it was kind of neck and neck, me and this other guy, and the head athletic trainer was like, I like both of you, but you just got married. He's like, I'm going to take this guy now. I'm not even going to open this up next year. So they did. I was like, he just let me off easy. But they actually ended up, as the season was ending, like late December, he called me up and said, hey, do you still want to come here for this full season? I said, for sure. So then that kind of how that happened. And luckily, while I was here, Mr. Heminger was the AD at the time. And so I asked him, like, how do we handle this? Like, I have this opportunity. And he said, no, you go. He's like, we'll figure it out. So I basically had a full year sub. I left in late May. So I had a sub to kind of finish the school year. And then I had a sub from August until I returned in February. So luckily, thank goodness for Mr. Heminger saying go get that opportunity, and the rest of the people in the administration said that was fine. So I had an opportunity to go over there and then come back and still have this job that I liked, because that was the toss-up. I really like this job, but this is a great opportunity. So I was able to do both things, which is I was very lucky to do that.
Yeah. So you said you work with the Colts organization. So which one did you think was better, the Bengals or the Colts, and why was it the Bengals?
Tough. No, it was interesting to see how the two different organizations ran things, from just running the training room on a daily basis and kind of the structure of what each head athletic trainer did on a daily basis, and kind of how the staffs ran and how you felt like you had to stay busy. The Colts head athletic trainer at the time, Hunter Smith, who came with them when they moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis. He was old school, hardcore. You got to always be busy doing something. If there's nobody in here, you better be doing paperwork or cleaning something or doing something. So that was kind of the vibe there. Cincinnati, a little more laid back. It was, your job responsibilities for the day, you get them done. When you get them done, you get them done. There may be some other things that you could do, but it doesn't feel so tense, at least in the training room. And then obviously structures of each team is a little bit different too. But it was nice to see the two different ways that people operate. And guess what? The job all gets done. For the most part, you think that players and athletes are happy with the service that they're getting. They just do things each a little bit different. So it was interesting to see.
Did you apply those two different styles, kind of like those two cultures of the athletic training room, together? Do you kind of apply some of those to the style of how you kind of operate now, or
a little bit? Most of it now. Casey's here now, so that's very nice. And obviously, we don't work together the whole year because in the fall I'm outside, so we're basically separate. But then when we come back in the building, just trying to figure out how to work off of each other. So it's not as structured. There's just so many things in the NFL, you have to deal with doctors, agents, all the coaches, and that kind of communication, where we have it, but it's on a much smaller level. In the end, you just kind of figure out what works between the staff to make it be smooth. And obviously the big thing is providing the best care for the athletes.
So did you actually get to travel with the team to away games?
In Cincinnati, I got to do the whole thing. So that was the fun part between doing Indianapolis, where I'd got to work, some practices and camps and those kind of things. And sometimes they put us in a hotel for local practices, but it wasn't the full travel. So in Cincinnati, that was the new and different part. A lot more responsibilities. When we traveled, it was my job to pack the trunks to make sure we had all the supplies that we may or may not need. It was my job to pack the clothing for all the medical staff, including the doctors and the residents, and what they think they could wear or would wear, as the weather changed. And then when we arrived, we got to go to a lot of different cities, but I didn't get to enjoy a lot of different cities because we were pretty much working. I got to go to New York twice. But I don't think I left the hotel besides driving to the stadium and to the airport. So my job was, when we got to the hotel, it was my job to find a place to set up a training room. So I'd go into a hotel I'd never been into in my life with our little travel trunk that we had some modalities and things. And then I'd try to find a hotel person, and they'd set me up in a room, and we'd get tables, and we'd get ice, and I wouldn't even get a check into my room first. I would go set a training room up. Once that was ready to go, then I would get to go eat, maybe go drop my bags off in my room, and then pretty much set in the training room from 7 o'clock until 11 o'clock, which was curfew. And some guys may come in and out to get treatment between meetings, or a bag of ice, or a little this, a massage, or whatever. And then go to bed, and then wake up call was 6:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock game, 6:30 in the morning, and we're going to the stadium at 8 or 9, and there we go again. And it just goes.
What would have to be your favorite game to have been at?
Ooh, good question. Our season opener that year was at Baltimore. 1 o'clock game, so a lot of energy. Baltimore's really good. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all those guys were on that team. So that building was full, and it was very electric. And then when Ray Lewis came out, the place went nuts, and he does his dance and things. So that was like a fun moment, just that the energy in the building. Everyone has lots of hope early in the season, so that was pretty cool. That's one I've not forgot that game.
Yeah, I was going to ask about. So you got to see the Bengals play all those teams, but was there a difference whenever they played the Steelers? Because they're big rivals and everything, and there's a lot of hate between them.
Oh yeah,
so
you could definitely feel it. We played Pittsburgh when the Bengals played Pittsburgh at home that year. Hines Ward was still on that team, and there was a interception thrown, and he peeled back on the newly draft pick linebacker, Keith Rivers, peeled back on him and broke his jaw. Yeah. So you saw some of those things. I didn't feel good for him, but so you could see that stuff amped up. Listen to Chad chatter with those guys on and off the field. So there was always lots of those things going on. Now, as the season went along and the Bengals weren't doing very well, it was a very rough year. They were still playing and competing, but you're also kind of getting to the let's get this over with,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very fun. That first half of the season especially was fun, even though they were in a bunch of close games.
Yeah.
Just didn't get it done. You guys see Brett Favre playing as a Jet.
Yeah.
You forget about that. We went to New York
I
twice,
forget
and
about
one
that.
time he was the Jets quarterback. So that was pretty cool.
That broken jaw, did you see any worse injuries during that season? Or what do you think would have to be the worst injury you saw?
We had a player dislocate his knee, which means he tore 3 of the 4 ligaments in his knee. We had a spine injury where someone little paralysis down one side, but it came back. So it was really weird. It was a very unique thing that I had not seen before, but we had to do the spine board him off the field. But by a week later, everything was back and he was fine. So that's the big thing. But a little freaky and surreal at first, as you have to do those, as those always are.
Nico, yeah.
So I'm going to talk about the combine. How long have you been doing the combine?
I think 2004, 2005,
Wow.
pretty early.
A long time. How's your setup for that? When do you head over, and is there a lot of people you work with?
Yeah, so my job as a combine, one of the on-field combine trainers, is we're on the field when those guys work out.
Yep.
The schedule over the last few years changed, but most of the schedule has been, it was guys were on the field at 8 o'clock in the morning to start warming up. So we were on the field at 6:30 in the morning, trying to get everything set up, be ready. And basically we tape them up, heat them. They do a dynamic warm up on the field, so we don't really stretch them. And then we have 3 different groups that day, staggered. So we've constantly getting guys ready and then just trying to manage all the guys on the field at once as far as, hopefully they don't get hurt, but unfortunately they do. We kind of sit at the end of the 40-yard dash and just you're just waiting who's going to pull up, because it just happens. It sucks, but it's part of the deal. So we're basically on there to help manage any injuries that happen on the field. encourage guys if they get a little dinged up to back off and shut it down, because there's no point in making yourself worse injury-wise and then putting on a bad performance, which some guys don't want to hear, but that's kind of part of the deal. But we got to make sure we document all the things really, really well, so that information goes out to all the teams so they know what really happened, and so if those guys have to get followed up on or anything.
Yeah, and then was there any guys like during the combines that you were at that you could just kind of tell that they were going to be like a different type of player?
I mean, I have a very, I don't know all the things, but just like any fan or casual
just like
person
how they
you think
talk to other people.
Early when I started, I would do a lot of that, like really be like a fan down there and kind of keeping track of guys, but you don't. What you find out is you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Those guys are professional coaches and scouts for a reason. But just seeing, it's there when Chris Johnson ran his really fast 40. So you just know when something is different. You can feel it. You can hear the oohs and ahs from scouts in the crowd. Now there are fans there, so you'll hear a little bit more of that. But as far as knowing for sure, I really like Christian McCaffrey when he came out. I've told people that.
Yeah.
He was pretty slick coming out of the backfield and just was flawless, I thought, that day.
He wasn't constantly visiting you during the combine?
Not. He was. Good point. Yeah, that was before the injury bugs started getting in. But I always thought he was pretty good. He was one of those kind of standouts. And a guy that we'll see this weekend that the Colts play, Terry McLaurin. I thought he had a really good workout.
Yeah.
Once again, it's just me just watching. I don't know anything, but I thought he was pretty smooth. He's been a local Indianapolis guy too.
Yeah. I really like Terry McLaurin. Probably one of my favorite players in the league currently. So, did you ever? Sorry, I know I'm kind of cutting into your piece, but did you ever interact with any players that went on to be big stars, or how do you really interact with a lot of players?
Yeah, there's sometimes there's downtime and you're standing there and just small talking, or standing behind the quarterbacks, with your water bottle, and they come in hey, what'd you think about that throw? And depending on who it was, so you get some of those little conversations. I was there when Aaron Rodgers and what's the other quarterback, Alex Smith.
Really?
There was that debate. That was one of my first combines. I didn't interact with them, I don't recall. But you'll get some of that, but it's usually what happens just like here. It takes me a little while to get to know kids. It's usually they get hurt, right? I see you at your worst, so they get dinged up, and then we have to have a conversation about that and then kind of going through. But every once in a while you'll get just the casual as we get a little bit of break in the action where someone may chat you up a little bit.
And then, so is most of the time there, is it more just injury prevention, or are there actually a lot of light injuries that do happen during combine?
There's some little things. It's usually your soft tissue stuff, little tweak here, a strain there. Every once in a while, someone will roll an ankle, dislocated finger or something, receivers that you got to manage on the field. So that's usually our on the field, but then we also have to so we're in charge of the hotel. So if there's any illness, so we'll get some illness stuff too. So we stay in the same hotel that the players stay in. But there are a lot of times the flu comes in and we've got guys down all over the place, and we're trying to get them hydrated and getting them to change rooms so they have a room by themselves, trying to get them to the doctors in the morning to see if we need to get them any medication or any of those things. So it's you're on for 24 hours, You never want that phone to ring at midnight or something, somebody needing something, but it's happened. Been up through the night with guys trying to figure out what we need to do for them and try to get them feeling better, or at least get them in a place where they can rest and start to recover.
Yep, and then, I forgot what I was going to say. You can say it.
Dang it.
Oh, okay, I remember. So, so players will get hurt during the regular season of college. When they go to the combine, do you have to do something special with those guys that had already been hurt and then are going to perform?
No, that's way above my pay grade.
Okay.
They will go through, so on TV, all you think about is all the on the field stuff. These guys go through like 3 days of things before they even get to on the field. On the field's the last thing that they do. So they have to go through, there's a bunch of rooms in the convention center, well, more off the stadium, where every team has their medical staff there. So these guys have to go through every team. They have all their medical records. They'll read them. They'll get hands-on if you have a knee injury, had a previous knee injury. They're going to examine you top to bottom, and this is going to happen like multiple times on that same day. So they'll know, the people that are in charge of the combine, the docs will decide, are you okay enough to participate or not? So if they have that previous history of injuries, we want to make sure, first of all, you're okay. If you're okay, well, they'll let you participate. If you're not okay, then okay, are you on the right track? Because they're trying to figure out, are they going to spin a pick on you? Are they going to figure out what you are? It's kind of like herding cattle, It's a little bit of a meat market back there of like figuring out which guys you want, and they get, like I said, they have all that medical information, MRIs. These guys get scanned over and over again, so everyone has the best health info on these guys.
What would be like what position do you see the most injuries at? Like, do you see a lot of injuries in the secondary, or like maybe a lineman, or
as far as the combine goes?
Yeah.
Probably the skill guys. Usually, they got to do so much running between the receivers and DBs, just because even when they're running their routes, they're running full speed over and over. And I usually say that I don't think guys always train for the combine the day. They train for the drills. So sometimes that position work gets those guys because they have to run 80 yards down the field over and over and over again. So you'll see some fatigue and a little bit of, like I said, some soft tissue tightening up or tweaks. So every year's a little bit different, depending on where these guys are training and who they're training with.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all I had.
Do you guys have? I'm trying to think of anything else. Like, is there any? So going back to the NFL, like, is there any players that you met on other teams? Like when you worked with the Colts, did you ever meet people like Peyton Manning, or any like when you were playing like an away game or just any game in general? Did you ever meet players from the other team?
Not really meet where you interacted. There'd be plenty of times where you're standing out there at a timeout and you look over and there's Willie McGinnis, and he's very big and intimidating. So there'd be some of those moments where you'd be like, oh, God, I am glad I stand over here. I'm not having to ram my body into these guys. But as far as like really meeting, not really. With the Colts, same thing. I was kind of the guy that was in and out. So there were some players I recognized a little bit, or that recognized me a little bit more than other players. I remember going through the Colts facility one day, and like Dallas Clark introduced himself to me. Okay, he's like, I'm Dallas. I'm like, oh, I know who you are. But that's cool because they're just different personalities. They know they get to play football for a living, but there are some that will take that little bit of extra time between their work and introduce and just make you feel comfortable where they're at too. So,
I got a question. You've been to all those stadiums and stuff like that. During your time, what was your favorite stadium?
It was pretty cool to walk on Lambeau Field.
That would be.
Or the Bengals played a Monday night preseason game there. So it wasn't quite as full, and I had been there before, but to be on that field was pretty cool. I got to be on that field, and I got to be on Dallas Stadium, the original. It was kind of a dump, but it was still cool to be on that field because you see the hole cut out in the roof and the thing. So to be on those were two pretty cool and pretty iconic places for sure.
I had one more Chad Johnson related question. So he has a diet of eating only McDonald's. What were your thoughts on that diet at the time?
Yeah, it's Chad. He's going to do what he does, and it's real. I remember being training camp at Georgetown, Kentucky is where they did training camp that year, and he would leave. He would get up and leave and drive to McDonald's and come back. He'd have his bag, and plenty of times at his locker, he'd have his bag of McDonald's, even though we have food served right there in the building every day. So, yeah, like I said, he did his thing, and it was just, everyone would just say, it's Chad being Chad. So you just, learned to embrace it and learned more and more about him and his personality.
All right, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I feel like we learned a lot. Is there anything else that you feel like we might have missed or anything?
No.
Yeah.
In the end, I still like working here. That was fun. I did learn a lot of things from those experiences professionally and obviously, relationship-wise, which would probably be the big thing, like trying to continue those relationships. Because you never know, like we started off early. I don't know if we had started or not, but just people knowing people. And in those communities, it's the same kind of thing. Just knowing people in the NFL is nice because you never know when you may need them or good advice or learn something here, or even now being a little bit more of a mentor with the college students coming through and having connections with Cincinnati and Indianapolis to be able to send kids, good students that way too, so they can have some of those same experiences.
Yeah. All right, Price, you want to?
Am I closing?
Yeah, you can close.
Thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and be ready for a lot of episodes coming out. We're kind of backed up on it, but thank you again. Who day?
Nice.
Thank you,
Well,
man.
I had no
for coming
problem.
on.
It was a good time.
A lot of fun.
You guys did good for your first one. Did good. Appreciate it. Let's see who has the most likes. Is that what we're gonna do at the end? See which podcast gets the most likes.
I think I win.
Oh, you already won?
With his short, he got like how many?
200 plus views.
Oh,
Yeah.
What was your short?
It was just me saying my sleeper picks for the season, or like for fantasy football.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, fellas. Well, it was a pleasure.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on.
Not much.
I don't know how to sound recording.
Is it done?
I want to press the square button, but I don't know if that's.
Go get Hinkins. We can cut this all. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go get Hinkins real quick. I'll go get Hinkins.
You can.
You guys would know.
Hopefully it wasn't too boring back here. We didn't get no yelling this episode. That's a shock.
Yeah, I was trying to really like watch us saying there was when he said like sometimes the players would come and they just want a massage. My first thought was Deshaun Watson, and I was like, holding back from saying anything.
My first thought was the Giants player. Remember that clip? He's like, his ass was basically hanging out and pulling his pants. The guys were jacking him off.
Yeah. What was I was gonna say? The thing I wasn't gonna say it, but like what I wanted to say was so when Deshaun Watson was at the combine, did he come over for a massage as well?
Patrick would not have had that.
Patrick would have flipped out.
It would have been funny as fuck.
Where's it going?
Okay, Patrick. Then he said that sometimes at the combine guys would come over for a massage.